Let's see now, it's Judy's turn.
The simplest level of teaching appears to be quite superficial. It consists of what seem to be very casual encounters, a chance meeting of two apparent strangers in an elevator, a child who is not looking where he is going, running into an adult by chance, two students happening to walk home together. These are not chance encounters. Each of them has the potential for becoming a teaching, learning situation. Perhaps the seeming strangers in the elevator will smile to one another. Perhaps the adult will not scold the child for bumping into him. Perhaps the students will become friends. Even at the level of the most casual encounter, it is possible for two people to lose sight of separate interests, if only for a moment. That moment will be enough. Salvation has come.
That's carrying it too far. I think it was last week.
Yeah, that smiling at somebody in an
Oh, I like that
elevator.
moment. Oh, I love that.
Well, I do too, but you know, I mean, it's a jump to think salvation has come from smiling at somebody in an
It's
elevator.
come for that moment. Remember the eternal now? In that moment, you're joined
Ah,
in a
It's
holy.
the holy instant.
Yeah. The two people are joining for a moment in a desire to see each other's worth and value and innocence. So in that moment, you're experiencing salvation. Of course, we drop out of those moments, don't we? Drop back into time. Okay, here I am again, caught.
I've had that experience of someone smiling at another one, and I've experienced it too, where that smile makes a huge change. You know,
Yes.
for somebody to be just depressed or maybe that's salvation. I don't know.
I've had that experience in a really depth of despair in my life. And a stranger looked at me on the street and it felt to me like looked into my soul with compassion, and it was a turning point.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I don't even remember if it was a man or a woman, but it was a very powerful experience for me.
devastating moment.
It's amazing. I have a story too, but I just think it's amazing. He really means that these little things make a big
Yes.
difference.
Oh,
Because I was
right.
here in Tucson and I had gotten divorced. I was alone here. I didn't really know anyone. I knew one other person, and I was wondering whether I should go back to Chicago or stay here because I had only been here 6 months. And so I was really packing up. I had this little Volkswagen, and the radio wasn't working, so I thought, I gotta get a radio if I'm gonna drive all the way back to Chicago. I went to get the radio, and the person who helped me do the radio was so nice and smiled. I remember it was the smile. And after that I said, no, I think I'll stick around for a few more days.
Wow.
This is 23 years later. It was a great decision, but it does make a difference.
What you said in that last
Yeah.
paragraph of this previous section is like when God's teachers speak, God's teacher with a capital T, the Holy Spirit, speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. It's like that joining, it's like the Holy Spirit was right there,
Yes.
bringing.
Telling me it's okay, you're gonna be okay here.
Yeah.
So give it a try, and I was okay, and I needed to stay here. It was the right thing for me to do. But, I was questioning it. So I was on the way out of town, really, almost. And that stopped me, that one little, so we have to remember this,
We
'cause
can have powerful impact.
just by paying attention, and just being nice.
Yeah,
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Just being nice to each other would make such a difference, but
I take back when it said salvation has come, that's carrying it too far. It isn't carrying it too far.
no, it
We've
isn't.
proven it in
No.
our experiences. Yeah, wow.
So that is cool. Good stories. Oh, my turn. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching. It is difficult to understand that levels of teaching the universal course is a concept as meaningless in reality as is time. The illusion of one permits the illusion of the other. In time, the teacher of God seems to begin to change his mind about the world with a single decision, and then learns more and more about the new direction as he teaches it. We have covered the illusion of time already, but the illusion of levels of teaching seems to be something different. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate that these levels cannot exist is simply to say that any level of the teaching-learning situation is part of God's plan for atonement, and His plan can have no levels, being a reflection of His will. Salvation is always ready and always there. God's teachers work at different levels, but the result is always the same. And levels, I think, we usually associate levels with importance, but what he's trying to say, that simple little encounter is just as important as, let's say, our joining together to read this. It's the same principle. You're joining together to say everything's okay. We're all right. It really isn't as bad as it looks. You know, we're fine. So we can enjoy ourselves take a deep breath and relax for a few minutes before we fall back into time. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That thing about levels, I had a question mark I put in after the last half of that paragraph. I'm not sure I understand about it. I think it's
Yeah, so what he's just trying to say is, and then he goes in and explains levels a little bit more, but, doesn't he? Yeah. That they're all as vitally important. They are all equal. They just look more important. Some of our relationships look more important to us than the smile in the elevator. But they are of equal importance because God's plan of salvation is always there. It's always possible to break into the holy instant, and it's as important as anyone. And it's just because we don't understand this, just like we don't understand time. Like he says there's no time, but you know, we live in time, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, we usually have importance on relationships too, because I've known this person for 30 years. I just smiled in the elevator for 5 minutes. Now, how could that be as important as this relationship? Well, he's saying it is. He's saying they're the same thing, but you don't understand this, just like you don't understand that there's no time. But we just have to take his word for it, that any joining, for however brief, is just as important as any other relationship. Your family, your children, it's all as vitally important that you join with the ones that he assigns to you that are only for a minute. That's just as important as your family connections and all that. In fact, all those assignments are vitally important to your own walk, and if you don't know that that's as important as, let's say, your family, you might get bogged down in not paying attention to the other places you're supposed to be joining. So that's what he's just trying to get us, you know, to get our attention off of our assignment of importance to certain relationships, because that's our special assignment. Now, you're special, you're different. I'm going to put a lot of attention here, but I'm going to totally ignore the guy that just walked past me on the street. Or, you know, I'm just not going to pay any attention to anybody else because, you know, this is where I'm supposed to focus he's getting it. No, you need to focus your attention on any place the Spirit directs you, even if it's only for a moment. That's very important. And we don't value ourselves enough to believe that my little smile is going to make any difference. And of course, he's trying to get us to value ourselves a little bit more. Because we're more important than we think we are.
We are worthy.
Yes.